Welcome to Let's Talk. This is Michelle Cox, the Mindset Coach. Today's topic is when to trust others. That is such a big question because we don't know. We're always interacting with other people. We're constantly needing to make decisions, and sometimes they're very big ones that depend on other people. And how do we know that we can trust them? That they're going to do what they say they're going to do, that they're going to be reliable, that they're not going to take our money and run, right? Or harm us in some way, physically or emotionally. There's a lot of question about trust and where it comes from and when to know that you can trust somebody. So I want to give you a little bit of a foundation first. The first thing to realize is that trust is not something that somebody else necessarily earns, that they accomplish all the levels and check all the boxes and they complete some sort of game level in your brain, or in their lives. And now they have earned your trust. Trust really is a decision that you make. It's inside of you to decide whether you are going to trust someone or not. It is a personal, internal process and not necessarily them accomplishing some set list of tasks. What comes to my mind right now is the Disney movie Hercules, and he's got to go on this quest and fulfill some tasks that are huge and outrageous. And maybe sometimes we have a little bit of that perspective about trusting other people. They have to complete these tasks that we give them and our quests, and then now I can now trust you. It's often a lot more about us and where we are already living with our nervous system, whether we feel that they are safe or a threat within our nervous system, which then influences our body and how we feel and how we show up and the way that we talk to people or scrutinize them or trust them and move on, right? So think about that first. Consider that. People don't have to earn my trust. It's something that I decide and give them and offer them. And it's very much first where I'm already living. The brain can look to the past and remember people, how they treated you, what they said, what they did. Did they show up? Did they stand you up? Did they do what they said they were going to do? Did they leave you high and dry? How did you feel about that? And, all the issues of your past, your brain is holding on to, and your body feels it. Your body remembers. And your brain can also think about what's happening in the moment, the live stream of your life. And then your brain can also predict the future and make guesses and try to decide what's going to happen next. So our brains are very, very detailed and intuitive and nuanced and so complex, but so much of it is influenced by the past. What are the prior experiences that we've had? How do we then feel about somebody who maybe is similar to the person who maybe harmed us in the past or did us wrong in some way? Are they similar in some way? Is the situation similar? And your brain is going to notice anything that seems similar because it's storing that threat, that memory, and then it's going to identify it again. That's the plan, to keep you safe. That's what your nervous system wants to do. It wants to keep you safe. But in all of these cases, your body is always in the present. Your body is always feeling it as if it were happening right now. When you spend that time to reflect and remember and kind of relive, your body thinks it's happening right now. Your body can't discern some things in the past, so I don't need to feel this feeling right now. You have to decide that and tell your body that you're safe in order to change the experience. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about trust. What was your home environment like when it came to trusting other people? You were born into an environment of either, very trusting You had kind of an open door. Your parents made friends with people easily and would bring them in, and you meet someone at the park and you set up a play date for your kids. Um, or maybe you grew up more in an environment of people can't be trusted, people are dangerous. Um, you have to always watch your back. You've always got to be on your guard. And if that was kind of the environment that you were raised in, even though that wasn't your experience of being hurt and cheated on or treated badly, but it was maybe your caregiver's experience. And they brought that into the environment, and that's what you were raised with, the culture, the trust culture in your family. So the trust culture then maybe was to be more guarded, suspicious. You've got to do it yourself. You can't trust other people. Um, maybe even that's where like racism and prejudice can come in, where you have a certain stereotype in your mind because that's what you've experienced before. And your nervous system is going to pick up, your brain is going to pick that up and trigger your nervous system and say, someone who looked like that was not to be trusted in the past. And so that's going to happen again. So we've got to be on our guard and not be trusting. So there's a lot that goes into trust and whether we're going to feel safe around someone or feel cautious and on edge or, needing to keep ourselves safe. I'm going to give you a real life example of an amazing young girl that I met. Like I said, I'm a life coach. I was certified to work with kids in particular, and I also work with adults in all ages and stages of life. But this one young lady was just an incredible example of someone who was able to move past her fears of people and then do incredible things. And one of the things I used with her, where she was attending my mindset summer camps. I'm in Nacogdoches, Texas, and I'll do summer camps for kids that are all based on Adventures in Wisdom curriculum. And I teach children about their brain, their nervous system, and how the cognitive behavioral theory or formula really helps you to see where you are and where you want to get to and how. So I'll show you a little bit about her thinking and her believing when I first met her. So I'm going to just put people in the cloud up here. Other people were her circumstance. And when I first met her, the first time she walked into the summer camp, first time I ever met her, her eyes were down, her hair was kind of shielding her face, and she was standing halfway behind her mom. And I tried to introduce myself and be friendly, and she just was like totally closed and, not really communicating that she trusted me, right? And that's okay. I'm used to kids coming and being really nervous and uncertain. They've never been there before. Maybe they've never met me. So I try to be very warm and engaging and help them to feel comfortable. But I noticed how she just really was holding back and very cautious. And later, a couple years later, I had a conversation with her again about this amazing transformation that she went through. And I asked her, what was your thinking before the big change? And I'm excited to tell you about her big change. But first, what was kind of running in the program, the software of her brain and nervous system? And she said that people in her mind were bad and scary. So I'm going to put that right here in the thought arrow. So in the cloud, we'll put a circumstance. It could be just a condition of your life, something that exists around you, something that somebody said or did. That's what goes into the cloud. So that's the circumstance. And her thought about people was that people are dangerous. People are bad. I have to be careful. Okay, so when she was thinking that, and yes, I will say there are people who are dangerous. There are definitely people that we should not trust and we should stay away from. For sure. Okay. However, not everybody is bad. Not everybody's going to take advantage of you, and you will miss out on like opening up your life to incredible things if you shut absolutely everybody out. So that's what this episode is about. And I want to show you how this changed for her. So at the time she was 14 years old. So I'll put that in there. So people are dangerous, people are bad. I have to be careful. So how do you think she felt in her body? What was her emotion, or the emotional experience she was having? And we can have more than one emotion at a time. But she describes how she felt a lot of fear and distrust and caution. Okay, so she was afraid that someone might hurt her. Something bad could happen if she was around someone, talked to them, had any sort of interaction with them. So she had been actually, let's go on with that. So how was she behaving? Let me tilt this down a little bit. So how do you think she was behaving if she's thinking people are dangerous and bad? She's feeling fear and distrust and feeling that kind of cautious feeling. Let me change that to cautious. Her behavior then was to keep to herself, and kind of hide. And hold back in social settings. Okay, so she's having these thoughts about people. People just exist. They're around her. And remember, people don't give you, people don't earn your trust. You decide that you're going to trust them. So she had in her mind that nobody could be trusted. She couldn't give them her trust. They had to earn it from her. But so far, she didn't really have a way to know how they could earn her trust. So she was getting very introverted and very stuck. And that's what I'm going to put here. Her result then was that she was very introverted. And introversion is not all automatically bad, but I'm going to just help you to see how in an extreme it does hold you back and it hinders your life. So introverted, disconnected from her peers, and she had limited opportunities. And so because she was introverted, because she was holding back, because she was disconnected from her peers and her community, she continued to believe that people are bad and people are dangerous, and I need to be cautious. I need to keep a bubble of safety around myself. And yes, if someone has had some sort of traumatic experience, that is 100% reasonable. It's 100% reasonable. However, if you stay in that programming in your mind that nobody can be trusted, it just simply isn't true. There are people that you can trust. There are relationships that will be good and nurturing and enlivening for you, and you will make contributions to other people's lives when you're willing to have that vulnerability of offering trust to other people with reason, right? With a good amount of reason, and be reasoning about it, and not just like, put yourself out there to be exploited. So there's a balance. We don't want to be an extreme at either end. We do need to have some caution, but we don't want to be so isolated that we miss out. We miss out on really healthy engagement. Okay, so throughout the week in my summer camp, this wonderful young lady, as every day she was learning about her nervous system, she was learning about her brain and how the threat response triggers you into fight or flight or freeze if you keep going deeper. She was learning about how whatever she thought about was going to create a feeling in her body. That's where emotions came from. she started to realize that she actually had more power and control over how she felt than she'd previously ever thought, right? And so she started to also get to know the other kids, and she opened herself up to them. And the other girls in the group thought she was delightful. She was very quiet, soft spoken, but she was very polite and very kind and respectful. And so the other girls welcomed her in. And it was really nice to see that. At snack time, we had a little break. The other girls were like, hey, come sit with us. And they would ask her questions. They'd start talking about stuff, just chatting. And it was wonderful to see that she was then realizing there are good people out there. Not everybody's bad. And so now I'm going to show you, using this diagram, how things changed for her, because it was absolutely amazing. And like I said, every day as she learned a little bit more about her body, her nervous system, her brain, she began to value herself and see the potential that she had. And she was no longer just something that gets acted upon by other people, but she could have the power to choose and act and think and do for herself. And, regardless of the people around her having opinions about her or her choices, but she could decide, I'm going to be me. And so let me tell you, so we had this wonderful week. And then about a month or two later, her mom emailed me. It must have been about 2 months later. Her mom emailed me and said, guess what? After your week at Mindset Camp, she then took theater camp with our local community theater and discovered she loved acting. She loved being on the stage in front of people. And I was just blown away. I was like, what, the girl that couldn't look me in the eyes and shake my hand? Like, what's this? She's on a stage. She was acting in a play in the community theater after theater camp. And she had tried out and auditioned for the part she wanted and got it and just loved it and just had a great time. And after that, she was then, she auditioned for a youth choir. She was involved in so many things, and I was just so blown away. So a couple years later, when I was asking her more about her experience, like, how did this change? She said that was the big part of it, was learning to trust herself, which I have an episode about that, episode 14, self-trust, but also learning to trust other people, that not everybody was going to be bad and critical and tear her down if she made a mistake, but she found that lots of people were very supportive and kind and generous and forgiving. So if she missed a line, nobody got mad at her. They just said, okay, it's your line, okay, it's your line, or whatever needed to happen. And that's the start of building friendship and building community. But for her personally, it was just amazing for her to come out of her shell and just own who she was and want to present herself to the community on stage, right? And singing in choirs. She knew she had something to share and that people were going to receive her with kindness and support, and people were cheering for her and happy for her. The family and friends around her were just so thrilled and just so supportive. And I think that just helped her so much to realize people are good. There are a lot of good people out there. And it's going to be okay for me to go after my dreams and to try something new that puts me in a very vulnerable position. So I think you might be able to see, if you listen to episode 15, Self-Trust, you might see how strong a connection there is between how much you trust yourself, that you can handle making mistakes, you can handle being vulnerable, you can handle being to experience failure, especially in a public setting. When you have that self-trust, you're much more likely to trust other people, because then you're not so afraid of what their opinion of you or what they think about you and how that might impact you. So that's a lot of why we don't trust people. We're worried about how they might treat us. and not just in a like physical or in a, you know, a sort of violence or um uh you know, really awful way like that. But I think a lot of the distrust could just be, are they going to accept me? Are they going to be gentle with me when I make a mistake or when I'm struggling and having a hard time? When you have that self trust first, then you can say whether they accept me or not is far less important than whether I accept myself. So if you have trouble accepting yourself, there is other work that needs to be done. It's going to be you in this cloud, the circumstance cloud, and uncovering what you're thinking about yourself. And that's some heavy work, and it can be painful and absolutely freeing when you start to see how your own thinking about yourself has been impacting you. So now let's look at this young lady, 14 years old, and she's starting to come out of her shell. She's realizing a lot of people are good. The other important thing is that she's learning how to stand up for herself. I can take care of myself. If something starts to feel off, I have the power to set a boundary, to step out of it, to get help, to move away from it, and protect myself. And so I think that that was something that was really good for her, was learning she did have that power to then remove herself if something became uncomfortable. Um, but it just opened up so much for her to feel like most people are good. I can handle myself. I can handle them. And I'm going to go after it and just enjoy my life. So a lot of people are good. I can handle myself with them. So what did she feel now? A lot of confidence and courage. And I think she felt a lot of joy as she's on stage and performing and just having a great time and singing in choirs, making new friends and developing connections where she didn't have them before. And she said how other kids in her homeschool group, when she first started joining them, but under that first distrustful inner environment, she kept to herself. She looked very stern, and the other kids said, "We thought you were really mean when you first started coming because you were so closed and you actually looked kind of angry on your face." And so that for her was revelatory, and she said she was really grateful that they told her that. And they said, now we know that you're so fun and so nice and we love being around you, but when you first came we were scared of you. So she was scared of people, and then the way she presented herself got other people to be kind of cautious of her and a little bit afraid of her. Kind of interesting. But now she's feeling confidence. She has a lot of courage, and she's feeling joyful about her life. And so her decision making, her action arrow is she's trying out for plays. And choirs, making friends. And then after this first community play that I got an email about, and I was like, I wish I would have known sooner so I could have come, but it was over by then. I would have just been like crying probably seeing her on stage. And then maybe a month or so later, I got another email from her mom, and she said, "You would never believe this," or like lots of capital letters and exclamation points. And she said, "We went into the bookstore in our town, and my daughter went up to the owner and said, 'Do you ever hire teens or have them come in as volunteers?' And he said, 'Oh, are you good at talking to people and helping customers?' And she said, 'I am constantly working on improving myself, and I know that I can get good at it.'" Something like that. Like, that's almost a direct quote. And it was just amazing. I was like, oh, look how much she believes in herself and how much she now is opening herself up to making connections with other people. It's going to help her to read people better instead of just being blanket statement, everybody's bad, and avoid and shun everybody. Now she's going to have a better skill of reading people accurately when someone truly is a threat to her and when someone is not. And so that was just awesome, that she put herself out there and asked, can I be a volunteer in a store? And then have to talk to people all day long. And not just on stage where you just kind of perform, going up to someone and asking if you can help, that is another level. So that was incredible. And I'm so proud of her. So the result being, she's living a more fulfilling life. Okay, she's discovering her talents. Okay, now let me go back to this more recent interaction that was 2 years after that first summer camp. I had another class, mindset class for kids and teens, and so her mom brought her and her sister. And at the beginning of the class, she's like, "Oh, I've got something for you," and she like dug in her pocket and she pulled out this little duck. Let's see if you can see that. This little tiny duck. And I was like, "Oh, how cute. What is this?" And she said, "It's a conversation starter." I was like, "What do you mean?" And she said, "I go up to people that I don't know and I hand them a duck and I start a conversation with them." I was like, "Are you kidding? That's the coolest thing." I said, "How many of these little ducks do you have left?" And she said, "Oh, just a few." I said, "How many did you start with?" And she said, "I ordered 100 off Amazon." And I was like, "You've given out like 90 something, 95 little ducks in the last few months?" And she said, "Yeah, then I get to talk to people and I get to know them and it helps them open up." So this young lady is just absolutely amazing, and I know she's going to go so far in her life because she's learning how to really manage that degree of trust or distrust. Having a little caution, of course, being self aware, but also realizing so many people are just so good. And opening yourself up means you do get to have those relationships and connections that will be meaningful to you and bring joy in your life. Now we hear about loneliness is like one of the major epidemics in our country, probably the world. So many people are lonely. And that actually has a more negative impact on you than almost anything, right? It's such a stressful thing for your nervous system to not have connection with other people. So if you have experienced trauma, you do need to seek out professional help so that you can put to rest the past and not project it on random people who are just innocent bystanders who might be really good for your life. Or it could help you to make amends with family members, close friends that you have had a falling out with, being able to talk to them, see if there is a way to reconcile. If they don't want to reconcile, then put it aside. But if you do have a family member, a close friend that you've had a great relationship in the past and something came in between you, there was a reason to distrust them, seek it out. See if you can make amends if they're wanting to reconcile. Because that loneliness, that keeping up of a resentment can be very harmful and limiting to our well-being, physically as well as emotionally and cognitively. Like, all of this is so connected, isn't it? So that's what I'm going to share with you today. How to trust, when to trust. First, you have to open yourself up by looking at the past. What is the environment that you were raised in? or that you've kind of created as a cocoon around you, is it really the best solution for what's happened in the past? And are you closing up yourself from being able to heal by having new and healthy and good relationships? Read people, learn how to read them, but open yourself up to the possibility that they are a good person. If you do still have like a warning sign going off, I just don't know if I should do business with this person, then don't. I don't think I should be alone with this person, then don't. We have a good reason for having a warning system in our bodies, but also be careful that you're not making it extreme and cutting everybody out. So, if you would like to learn how to build relationships and move forward in your life, contact me. I'd love to help you work through your own personal thought cycle diagram, understand your connection between your own thinking, your nervous system, the environment you grew up in, the one you've created for yourself, and how you're feeling, and how that's moving you forward or not in your life, and the result that it's creating. I can help you with that. So contact me, michellecox.mindset@gmail.com, or message me on social media or YouTube.